I never thought my life would take such a turn inside the white-walled hospital where I had spent over a decade of my life serving as a nurse. The days often felt the same, long shifts, endless charting, the sound of monitors beeping steadily, and the quiet weight of other people's pain lingering in the halls. I had chosen this career because I wanted to help, to give comfort, and to be a steady hand when others were at their weakest. But somewhere along the way, I had lost myself. My name is Emily Carter. I was 38 years old, divorced for nearly 4 years, and had thrown myself into my work so deeply that it had become my entire identity. My colleagues joked that I lived in the hospital, and honestly, they weren't wrong. My marriage had ended quietly and painfully, leaving me convinced that maybe I wasn't meant to feel truly desired or loved again. Instead, I focused on giving compassion to others, hiding the emptiness I carried within. It was during one of my routine night shifts that I first met Daniel Hayes. He wasn't an extraordinary case at first glance, just another patient admitted for a post-surgical recovery after a complicated leg injury. But there was something about him I couldn't put into words, even that first night. He looked tired, yes, but there was a light in his eyes, a spark of humor that peeked out even through his pain. When I introduced myself, he greeted me with a warm smile, as if we had known each other longer than a few minutes. "Emily, huh? That's a good name." "Strong," he said softly, his voice a little raspy. "You look like someone who doesn't give up on people." I remember being caught off guard. Most patients were too overwhelmed by their situation to notice the person caring for them beyond the uniform. But he looked at me, not just at the nurse standing by his bed, but at me. It was disarming in a way I wasn't prepared for. The days passed, and Daniel became more than just a patient on my rounds. He was attentive, asking questions not just about his medication but about my day, my life. I tried to keep the professional boundary firm, but it became difficult when he had this way of making me laugh even during stressful nights. He teased me gently about my serious face, telling me I looked better when I smiled. One night, during a quiet shift, I found myself sitting in his room a little longer than usual. He was awake, unable to sleep from the discomfort, and I stayed to keep him company. We talked about everything: his love for hiking before the accident, my love for painting which I had abandoned years ago, and the oddities of hospital food. He shared stories about the mountains he had climbed, the places he wanted to see again when he healed, and I felt something stirring inside me that I hadn't felt in a long time: hope. It wasn't romantic, not at first. It was human. Two people who had been through their own struggles finding connection in a place usually filled with suffering. He reminded me that life was still happening outside these sterile walls, that there were still dreams worth chasing and moments worth cherishing. There was one particular evening I will never forget. I was tired, overwhelmed after dealing with a difficult case, and I must have let my exhaustion show more than I intended. Daniel looked at me with quiet concern and said, "You take care of everyone here, Emily." "But who takes care of you?" I froze, unsure how to respond. The truth was, no one did. I had been carrying my own loneliness like a hidden scar, convincing myself that as long as I poured my heart into others, I didn't need anything in return. His words broke something open in me. For the first time in years, someone had seen through the facade. From then on, our conversations grew deeper. He encouraged me to pick up painting again, telling me I deserved to create something beautiful for myself, not just give endlessly to others. I told him about my failed marriage, about the emptiness that had followed, and he listened without judgment. In turn, he shared about his accident, how it had shaken his confidence and left him wondering if he'd ever feel whole again. We became mirrors to each other, reflecting fears, but also possibilities. Over the weeks, as his health improved, so did something inside me. I found myself looking forward to my shifts not just for the work, but because I knew I'd see him. It was never inappropriate, just small exchanges of kindness, laughter in the quiet hours, and encouragement when either of us felt low. Yet it was powerful enough to change how I saw myself. When the day finally came for Daniel to be discharged, I felt a pang of sadness I hadn't expected. He was walking more confidently, his recovery remarkable, and though I was proud of his progress, I couldn't ignore the hollow space forming at the thought of him leaving. As he prepared to go, he handed me a folded piece of paper. "Don't open this until after I'm gone," he said with a smile. Later that evening, I unfolded it and found a simple handwritten note. It read, "Emily, thank you for reminding me what it feels like to live, not just survive. You're not just a nurse. You're someone who deserves to be seen, appreciated, and cared for. Don't forget that." I sat there in the break room, tears slipping down my face. It wasn't a love letter. It wasn't anything inappropriate. It was recognition, validation, and the gentle reminder I didn't even know I needed. Weeks passed, and though I didn't see Daniel again, his words stayed with me. I picked up my paintbrush for the first time in years, filling blank canvases with colors that felt like new beginnings. I started smiling more, even laughing more, and my colleagues noticed. I wasn't just surviving my shifts anymore, I was living them with purpose again. Daniel may have been just a patient, but he gave me something priceless, the reminder that I was more than my role, more than my scars, and still capable of feeling alive. And for that, I will always be grateful.